I'm Jeffrey Gullett. I'm the assistant producer on Fracture. Mason Briggs is the main character of the game, and he's originally sort of a child of the wasteland, and he was found by a commanding officer of the Atlantic Alliance, who then sort of took him under his wing and brought him up through the military to his current position as a sergeant demolition expert in the Atlantic Alliance Army. Terrain Deformation was originally thought of by the president of Day One Studios, who's our development partner on this, and he just came up with the idea, thought it would be a fun mechanic to have in a game, so then they sort of created a whole game around that mechanic. We have several different types of terrain-deforming weapons. The grenades are the most evident example that you see. The tectonic grenades, for example, will raise the terrain up, so you can throw the tectonic grenade out there, and when it hits the ground, it explodes with, kind of a concussive force, but then it actually raises the terrain like a small hill in front of you that you can use for taking cover behind. You can use it to access a higher location for navigational purposes. You can use it. You might need to use it to solve puzzles to, raise things up, for example. Then there's the subsonic grenade, which is kind of the opposite, and it'll actually lower the terrain, not so much just like a crater, like an explosive crater, but it actually drops the ground out beneath something. So you can throw it underneath enemies. The explosion will actually damage them, then it also drops the ground beneath them. They kind of lose their balance, lose their way, so to speak. And then we have some other kind of more non-traditional, I guess you could say, terrain-deforming weapons like the vortex grenade, which uses the energy of the earth to create this swirling mass of destruction where it pulls in all the objects, all the physics objects from around the world, any dirt, rocks, any objects that are just laying about, all get sucked into it and swirled around in there. And then when it reaches a critical mass, it just explodes and throws things all over the map. There'll be definitely a lot of secrets and things hidden around the levels that you're going to need to use the terrain deformation to find. For example, the spike grenade, where you throw the grenade and then it grows this giant spike out of the ground. Originally, it actually had some destructive purposes, but people immediately wanted to stand on top of it and ride it up to get to these higher locations, and we gave it kind of a nice flat part at the top where you could stand on easily, and it opened up a whole new game design for us of finding places where people could get up to get a better better vantage point, or to hide objects or special weapons and things like that. Right now we're planning on 16-player multiplayer online in several different game modes that we're still working on right now, which different game modes we're going to have. In addition to that, there'll be 2-player co-op on a single system, so like a split screen 2-player co-op mode. We've had multiplayer up and running just in some test levels, and it gets pretty crazy when you have 16 people deforming the terrain all around you. You might have 2 or 3 different vortexes happening at one time that are flinging objects from all over the map, including from one vortex to another vortex. So terrain deformation is going to completely change the way people play this game multiplayer.